I'm disagreeing with that data, but with that interpretation of data, but I'm also,
But it's true. They're more likely to drop out and they're finishing at the bottom of their classes. You can't just put a kid into Harvard because they're black. They're going to have to compete at that level.
But one, that's never been the argument of affirmative action for college admissions. And that's not happening. There aren't all these.
It is happening,
there aren't
though.
all these
I'm telling you that there is concrete data that supports that it hurts black Americans because they're finishing at the bottom of classes where they would be finishing at the top if they had just went into schools that they were meant to be in.
First of all, there's absolutely no way to predict that, right? So that's not data. That's a huge leap of interpretation to say.
No, it's that. What do you mean there's no way to predict it?
How can you predict that someone would have?
You can't predict it. You can assess it retro. You can do a retro assessment.
How can you retroactively assess that someone would have been at
because
top
you
of the
look
class
at all
UNC?
of the black kids, right? And you look at their SAT scores and you say, if they had actually gotten into this school, which is where they belonged, as opposed to putting them in this school because they were black. So Harvard's saying, let's let them in on an affirmative action based.
But I'm saying that's
system.
not how college-based admissions. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, what I'm disagreeing with is the presumption that we're taking as fact that people are admitted who are wholly unqualified for these admissions.
They are.
No,
they're below the average SAT score of all the other Chinese kids and white kids that get into these schools.
No, that's what the way college admissions works is that with regard to diversity and with regard to affirmative action is that the argument is that race should be a factor in the application. Not that you should be admitted because you're black. Not that we should have this whole sea of unqualified people who have like 1,000 on the SATs and and 3.0 GPAs. That's not the argument. If that were the argument, I would agree with you because when there are situations where people are mismatched that dramatically, you're right, they don't do well. That's what I'm saying. I was never disputing that point. What I'm disputing is the idea that is the framework for how affirmative action works or how we've ever wanted it to work within universities. The idea here is that one, we believe that diversity is an institutional benefit, that we all benefit when schools are more diverse, not just black people because we got into Harvard, but white people for having black people there and vice versa, right?
So you're against HBCUs?
No, I'm not against HBCUs.